Today we will be talking about what the language of consciousness is. What is the language of consciousness? This consciousness is this miraculous energetic flow within inside our own landscape of being that interprets life experience so that we can actually experience it through the person that we are. Before we talk about the language of consciousness, let's just talk about what is language. Language is the way that we communicate, and communication is the way that we exchange information through messages. And so the language of consciousness is the manner in which the consciousness exchanges information through messages. In order to understand the language of consciousness, we need to look at these two words that are the two sides to the same coin: implicit and explicit. Explicit and implicit are both adjectives. They're both words used to describe something. Explicit means direct, obvious, and clearly stated. Implicit means implied through indirect expression. So explicit is the really obvious, it's clear that it's there, you know what it is, there's no room for doubt or confusion, it's very obvious what it means, it's very just clear, it's boom, it's there. Implicit is the opposite of that, where there's information, there's something going on, but it's not clear, it's subtle, it's indirect, it's implied. There might be room for confusion because it's not very obvious or boldly stated, it's more subtly expressed. There are many explicits and implicits throughout our unfolding life experience, and it's important to be aware of these and differentiate between the two because there's a lot of meaning within them. We use explicits and implicits throughout life in a variety of ways. Communication is one of many ways that we use different explicits and implicits within our unfolding life experience through our miraculous consciousness. Explicit communication is directly and clearly stated information exchanged through messages. Implicit communication is indirectly implied expressions of information exchanged through messages. So within our everyday unfolding life experience, the explicit communication is what we're really tuned in with. We're aware of it. It's very direct. It's obviously stated. It's boldly in existence. The implicit communication is what we're not directly tuned in with, and yet it's affecting us within unfolding moments, whether we realize it or not. Explicit communication is the things that are being directly and clearly stated. When someone says, I am feeling this way. This is what is happening. There's an explicit form of communication. But within all of that, there's all these things that are not being directly stated. The body language, the style of facial expression, the fluctuation of the tone of voice. There's all of these different implicit sensations that are affecting our ability for communication within our unfolding life experience, moment by moment, within ourselves and within every single interaction with every single person and every encounter with the world. There's an implicit aspect of communication affecting our experience, affecting our applications of consciousness, affecting our perceptions and our manner of responding through communication to communication. All of these different things come from the implicits of communication. We're directly aware of the explicits, but that's not the whole story. That's not all that's happening. There's always more. There's always an implicit. And so when we're communicating, it's important to tune into this. Otherwise, there's bound to be miscommunications. Communication is this whole thing in life, and it really, really matters in our relationships, in our personal life, in our work settings, in all the different things that we're doing and moving through and to in life. Communication matters. And there's this whole realm of subtle energies being implied indirectly through the energetic flow of communication. When we tune into that, we can communicate more effectively. Effective communication is a beautiful experience, and it is so important for our own fulfillment and peace and joy, our ability for connection, our ability for collaboration, our ability to move through everyday life, through all our different modalities of existence. Communication is really important. And there's this whole realm of communication that's not direct, that's not obvious. So at the core of human consciousness is love. Within our subconscious, the entire landscape that connects our body and our mind is developed through attachment formation. From that, we have this foundation of love inside of our being. We are love at the core of our consciousness. And from that space of love, all of our interactions are based in love also, because we interact from the space that we are, and we are love. And so there's this acronym I've created, and it kind of expresses how we communicate with one another. Love stands for language of body, omission of language, verbal language, and energetic language. The majority of communication has nothing to do with the words being spoken. And understanding this can help us tune in to our experience through the person that we are much more effectively. So we can communicate more effectively, we can process communication, we can respond to communication, and all these various aspects of life experience can start to thrive in a deeper way, at a deeper level. So within every interaction, with every person we come in contact with, there's all these different aspects of communication that have nothing to do with the words that we're saying, and much more to do with the unconscious manner in which we are speaking, the energy we're speaking from, the bodily position that we're speaking from, the manner in which things are being unconsciously articulated while our conscious awareness is selecting the words to say to create a particular explicit message. There's all of these implicits that affect the way in which our words are being delivered to whomever we are communicating with. And then it affects the communication proceeding forward, because communication is oftentimes a reciprocal thing. There's energy here, there's energy here, there's energy here, there's energy here. And there's this energetic flow of communication. And so if one thing is being said, but it's not being said effectively, because the implicit message is strong and not necessarily aligning with the explicit message, then the entire thing of communication can be off kilter, and there could be a variety of things, frustration, pain, miscommunication, misunderstandings, all sorts of effects that are unpleasant and undesired. So tuning into the implicits of life are really important. It can really help our ability for communication and our ability to communicatively connect with ourselves and one another. Within this explicit and implicit communication are implicit and explicit language. And I describe explicit language as the explicit communication through usage of directly stated words focused on physical or external particulars. And I describe implicit language as the implicit communication through usage of feelings-based words focused on sensational, internal, or energetic aspects, or the aspects of communication that are nonverbal. And so if we can consciously choose to shift our focus towards implicit language when it feels appropriate, or when it seems like it might be a good time to practice it, or when things aren't being effectively communicated, our communication can become more effective. We can harness our ability to convey our messages in a more effective manner. We can connect with other people while we are communicating, and the entire process of expression and comprehension and energetic exchange of communication can become a more effective and prosperous encounter. Understanding the explicits and implicits can really help our communication with ourselves and with each other. Another way that the explicits and implicits of life are important to focus on and be aware of and tune in with is because there are explicits and implicits of life experience, or of experience. Explicit experience are the direct, obvious, and clearly stated aspects of life as sensed through personal encounters. An implicit experience are the indirectly implied aspects of life as sensed through personal encounters. And so explicit experience is the obvious, physical, directly observable, clearly stated, very obvious to witness and understand and tune in with aspects of life experience. For example, right now, the Explicit experience is I am a woman, I am standing, I'm hanging out with a couple unicorns, I am speaking, I am conveying a message, I am creating a video. But the implicits of experience are I can feel the sensational aspects of my feet standing upon the ground, and I can feel the verticalness of my body thanks to the, proportions of gravity and relation to my muscular posture. And I'm feeling this sensation of nervousness in my belly, and I'm feeling these emotional sensations, and I'm noticing the backdrop of my surroundings, and I can feel the atmospheric air upon my skin, and I'm looking at my cat Pookie Bear who's hanging out with me, and I feel a sensation of amusement, and I can feel my thought processes occurring in the backdrop unfolding, providing me messages to translate into external words to say. There's always an implicit to every explicit experience, and it might not be something we can plainly, obviously see with our eyes, and yet it's always there, always impacting unfolding life experience from behind the scenes of consciousness. When we move through life, oftentimes the focus is on the explicits. What are the things that are obvious? How much money do I have? What's my job? Where did I go to school? What kind of home do I have? How do I enjoy my free time? What do I look like to other people? How do I appear? All of these very external, explicitly focused aspects of experience. But I've learned that the explicits are only a part of the story. And the truth is that the majority of our experience doesn't come from the explicits. It comes from the implicits. The implicits are the things that are not directly observable. What kind of job you have is less important than how you feel when you go to that job. What kind of education you have is less important than how you feel about your knowledge. The way that you appear to other people is less important than the way you feel about your own being. The majority of our consciousness functions in the implicits. And so even though life and experience may seem like a very external, physical-based thing, that's not the truth. The majority of the manner in which we process our own life and our own experiences are always about the implicits. The vast majority is about the implicits. And this is why 100 different people can go and see the same movie, and they're all going to have a very unique experience because their consciousness is unique. And the experience isn't about the external physicality, it's about the internal energetic processing of that physicality. And that's where the actual experience comes from. The external are only ever activators because our experience comes through the inside of our consciousness. External specifics are just activators of this conscious experience. They do not independently create conscious experience, and all experience comes from our consciousness. So when we're moving through life, it's important to tune in with the implicits for a variety of reasons. If we're feeling something, it's not coming from the explicits. It might be activated because of some of the aspects of the explicits, but the actual sensations we're feeling and going through and experiencing are from the implicits. Connecting with the implicits of life helps us be more connected with ourselves and with one another. When we're communicating, we can communicate more effectively by focusing on the implicits. When we're living life and sharing experiences, the connectivity through the experience with ourselves and with one another can be amplified and deepened and expanded and strengthened if we focus on the implicits of the experience. This can help us be a better friend to ourselves and to one another. We can befriend ourselves and befriend each other in a deeper way if we focus more on the implicits of life. It's not to say the explicits aren't important, but as it stands, usually that's where the only focus is. And so we just kind of need to bring some balance into it by bringing the implicits into the picture through conscious intention. And then we'll have a balance of the explicits and the implicits. And with this balance, we can be a better friend to ourselves and to one another. We can deepen, expand, and strengthen the relationship that we have intrapersonally and interpersonally. And from that place, we can find more peace, joy, and fulfillment. We can find more connection. We can feel a greater satisfaction moving through life. We can feel more expansive clarity and presence and just a deeper sense of being. We are human beings, and being is how we are intended to be. And so we can enjoy our life and deepen our life, expand the depth of our own experiences through our miraculous consciousness when we shift some of the conscious focus towards the implicits. We can be a better friend to ourselves and to one another. And so within our everyday lives, as we be a friend to ourselves and those around us, if we can address the implicits, everything will start to change. The love inside of us and the love that is given between our interactions will grow and start to heal consciousness from the inside out within all of humankind and heal the world within ourselves, within our communities, and at large. And being a friend also means being there through everything. You know, not just sharing in experiences, but helping each other through the pains of life, the struggles of life, the trials of life, finding moments of laughter and moments of tears, finding moments of smiles and moments of frowns, finding moments of bliss and enjoyment and of difficulty and struggle. There's this contrast of experience that we all go through in one way or another. We all go through the contrast of life. That's part of being a physical person. It's part of the miracle that we are. And so moving through that contrast requires friendship. Friendship with our own selves and friendship with one another. And when we can be a friend to ourselves and to one another with an emphasis on the implicits of experience, we can be a better friend. We can feel our own love, and we can feel the love exchanged between ourselves and others in a deeper, more expansive, genuinely authentic, fulfilling, enlivening sort of a way. And so bringing our focus consciously into the implicits of experience can help us deepen our experience and deepen our friendships through various experiences. And if you ever don't know how to be there for someone, just tune into the implicits. Nothing needs to be changed or fixed or described explicitly. But what about the implicits? What about the aspects of the experience that are not obvious or directly seen through our visual eyesight? What about the things that are being energetically experienced internally that maybe can't be seen physically? When we tune into that, we attune with the deeper sense of consciousness that we are and that our loved ones are, and we can be a better friend. We can show up in a more dynamic, fulfilling, satisfying way. So if there's ever a moment of being at a loss for words or a loss of how do I be a friend right now? How do I be a friend to myself, or how do I be a friend to someone else? Just pause and tune in to any implicit aspect of the experience. And there, connection can always be found. Through the language of love, we can actually heal our interactions as well. The first acronym for love expresses the manner in which we communicate. There's a lot more to communication than just the words that we say. From this renewed perspective and understanding of implicit language, we can strive towards improved communication within our everyday unfolding life experience. And this can be expressed through another acronym of love. In this acronym of love, L stands for lightness of heart space. O stands for openness of heart space. V stands for vulnerability of heart space. And E stands for emotional expression of heart space. When we center in our heart space, we can tap into implicit language and heal our interactions by having this centering in the implicit language within the consciousness that carries us. At the core of our being, we are love. This is the truth of the foundation of every human consciousness. And from that knowing, we can center ourselves in our heart space and allow for our implicit language to naturally allow for more effective communication and heal our interactions through the energetic language of love. Healing any kind of pain requires tuning in to the implicits of life. Any kind of pain, whether it's the everyday pains of life, whether it's a severe, intensive trauma, or something in between. Any pain of life requires attuning to the implicits of the experience in order to heal. When it comes to healing specifically, if we're trying to heal from something, it's never about what explicitly happened. It provides a framework for understanding the implicits, but healing by focusing on the explicits does not work. You just perpetuate the pain by repeating the story. You don't actually heal the pain that's underneath the story. Any kind of pain can only be healed when the implicits are addressed. And so regardless of the explicit specificities, the implicits are what matter. And when the implicits are addressed, pain can heal rather than the story of pain being perpetuated and the actual resolution never arriving. By tuning into the implicits of life experience, we can be more attuned to our own consciousness and attuned to the consciousness of everyone around us. We can communicate more effectively. We can be a better friend to ourselves and one another. We can have more opportunity to heal our own pain and help heal the pains of others. And if that isn't enough, we can also expand and deepen and cultivate a more dynamic experience through all of life when we tune into the implicits. Everyday magic is a perfect example. Everyday magic is a great example of tuning into the implicits. When I'm looking at something that is everyday magic, when I'm looking at this really small aspect of life experience and choosing to celebrate the magic of it, I'm not sitting there saying the explicits. I'm not sitting there with a leaf going, I am holding a leaf and it is pretty. That's not what's happening. I'm tuning into the implicits of the experience to amplify my positive sensations of experiential emotional contact or contrast, or I'm tuning into the to amplify the experiential sensations that can feel good inside of my consciousness and allow for a positive feeling then that can help carry me through the day and create a ripple effect, a domino effect of further positive feelings. And so if I'm holding a leaf, I'm not sitting there like, I'm holding a leaf and it is pretty. No, I'm sitting there and I'm letting go of the narrative. I'm letting go of the thought. I'm letting go of what I think I know about the moment. And I'm looking at it through fresh eyes, choosing to provoke a sense of marveling wonder at what I am witnessing. And it's then that I see the vessels of the leaf and the contrast of the different shades and the really tiny edges around the leaf and the way the sunlight comes through and illuminates its wonder and essence. And if I take it away from the sunshine, it doesn't look as magnificent. And then I hold it up and its specificities are illuminated and provoke a sense of awe-striking wonder within me. And then I can relax into my being, be more present with my own sense of self in that day, and realize that there is beauty in the world, and I can see it if I choose to see it. And then that lesson and that feeling carry with me through the day and provoke further experiences of beauty and positive sensations. That's the trick of everyday magic. It helps you tune into the implicits of your own experience of consciousness. The language of consciousness is implicit. Implicits are the language of consciousness. Various aspects of experience and memories and sensations and communication, all of the implicits of life are how the consciousness that carries us communicates. Understanding this can help us understand ourselves better, help us understand our perceptions of experience better, help us have more power moving through our experience, help us communicate with the consciousness that carries us, help provide interactions with other human consciousnesses, and just overall improve our quality of life and our quality of being. Understanding the language of consciousness can create much more magic through our everyday life experience because we understand the deeper perceptions of what it means to be a person, how this consciousness within us is operating and understanding life, and how we can use that understanding to interact with ourselves and with this expansive life in a deeper, more dynamic way.
I want you to join this conversation. I want you to be a part of this worldwide discussion. Here is a conversation starter for you. I encourage you to comment below, or respond in a journal prompt, or write a blog post, or create your own video, or have a discussion with a friend, or start a conversation with a family member. I encourage you to take this discussion prompt and transform it into something that you engage with in your personal life. Conversations about consciousness matter. You matter. Your voice matters.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this lovely, beautiful, gorgeous day at Mosaic Mind Awareness. I am so grateful for you. Thank you for being here. Namaste, soul friends. The illuminating light, the foundation of love, and the infinite miracles in me see and honor. The illuminating light, the foundation of love, and the infinite miracles in you. Have a beautiful and blessed day, soul friends.